Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Witching Hour. Tonight, we welcome a wildly fascinating Tonelise Rugaas. She is a ceremonial magician, a storyteller, a magical retreat curator, a mythology lover, and creator of immersive mystical journeys around the world. From the Arctic Circle to sacred landscapes of southern France and Joshua Tree, she brings magically minded people together for real world transformation, ritual, and adventure. Welcome, Tonalise. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm
Uh,
grateful.
yes, we met each other fairly recently. I fell in love with you and your background and your history and what you do. So let's actually start out with your sacred journeys, because I'm going to figure out how to get me on one of these days. So you are
Yeah.
known for your beautiful sacred journeys. So um, again, you do them all over. What is the importance? Many of us in the craft, in witchcraft, there's not a lot. We're home alone. We're doing our magic. We're learning our thing. What do you see as the benefit of these magical getaways?
Well, first of all, magic and craft, of whatever, uh, whatever you do, whatever I do, we also have two different lineages, you and I. Not that
Yep.
that matters at all,
Yeah.
as long as the goal is the same. But it can be a really lonely road and a very confusing road. Sometimes people feel pulled towards something, they feel drawn towards something. They get all the books, they sit at home and they read them and they're trying to understand. Maybe they reach out and search for things on the internet. They join other people's profiles on Instagram and whatnot. And it's really difficult, for instance, to meet people and um, uh, get an understanding of what one is doing. And unless one has an opportunity to at least once in a while do ritual together. And this is something that people have been doing together since forever. And, just the Pythagoreans, the Egyptians, this was something that was shared. And, uh, um, and that's something that I think is worth keeping in mind and also bringing back, particularly after we've had pandemics that really isolated people. So, much of what I'm trying to do is to bring people out of an isolation and bring people into a space that is safe, um, where people can feel trust enough to be able to learn about magic, to be able to learn from really, really good teachers and tutors that we bring together. Maybe that would be somebody whose book one has read, and then do ritual together and learn together in an in person setting. Because the effect of the whole in person thing and do this with other people is fundamental for the understanding of how how these things work, because everyone is also amplifying um, what it is that we do together, and it's a lot more fun. I mean, come on, it's just uh, and I understand for introverts to go like, no, I don't want to do this for anybody else, but trust me. It's a revelation, and sometimes it is the difference between having a great experience and having an experience that could potentially change people's lives, because community is real. Even if people prefer, there are people out there who very much prefer to be in their own company as well. But one always has an opportunity to do that. But one does not always have an opportunity to be in a curated environment with other people who have been handpicked to do this together. So, and maybe, I know that was a long answer, but it's a big
No,
subject.
that's a perfect answer. And I agree wholeheartedly. I know if I
Mm.
look back at my life changing moments, my spiritual awakenings, my revelations, it
Yeah.
has been with other people. It has been in a group setting where you have the energy of the magic that's going on. Yes, we have our private moments and things.
Yeah.
Um, So, and again, something that's curated with like-minded people changes everything. Now, you work in all sorts of sacred sites from, again, the south of France to Joshua trees to
Mhm.
ancient ruins. What makes you pick very specific places? What makes some places is it spiritually alive? Are they going to have a different experience there?
Well, yeah, I think places that that has a calling to them, that places that call you, places that have a significant, that also historically has had a significant when it comes to these type of practices. And it depends on the theme as well. So, for instance, in March during solstice, I had a retreat, which was a tarot retreat with Lon Duquette, and the year before that, we had one about Enochian magic, and that works because that's a very solar environment, and this was the equinox. It's about the return of the sun. So the whole environment there, and also being under the stars, and having really tall skies. So when you are looking into stuff like that, that is also connected to astrology, to Kabbalah, to etc. You just go outside and go like, oh, there they are,
Yeah.
and and that in combination with having a teacher there that most people had read his books, and and he's there and he's teaching, and people could ask questions directly and they get the answer there and then from the horse's mouth. And then we do ritual together as well, which is a lot of fun. So that's an example of how that can work in that environment. Whereas in the south of France, where I happen to be right now, it's evening here. This particular area in the Pyrenees is very well. It's very known for their kind of feminine
Yes.
link. It's white ladies, it's black madonnas, it's the whole Cathar law, as well as a really really interesting history. The Celts were here; they brought their goddesses with them. The Romans were here; they brought their goddesses with them. So the Jews were here and developed the esoteric Kabbalah here. But the whole kind of feminine link here is important. Just down the road, the whole area is called Minerve. It's like because Minerva, right? And there are villages here that have holy places, churches, etc., buildings that are literally consecrated either to Venus or to the Mary Magdalene. And so here I do stuff like Rosicrucian retreats, Venusian retreats, retreats that has to do with Babylon, retreats that has to do with fertility goddesses, and the whole kind of mystery of the region. So obviously then when you also visit these sacred sites that are consecrated to the goddess that we're learning about and that we are learning to walk next to, it will amplify the whole experience. And that's the whole idea. And also taking people out of their normal nitty gritty kind of, all our lives are boring sometimes. And, just being lifted out of that and put into an environment that is conducive to magic, whether one comes here, whether one goes to Josh Retreat, and in Josh Retreat, I have one coming up, which we can talk a bit more about later with, 3 amazing teachers coming up on Halloween. So the whole idea is to get out of one's daily grind and dedicate some days to magic with other people who are also willing to dedicate some time to magic. And meet in magic. Magical people meet in magic.
Right. Yes, I think that is beautiful. I wish I could be going to your Halloween one, but that's a rough thing. But and again, you were doing one on the equinox. Halloween,
Yeah.
of course, is Samhain, so that's a very
It is.
powerful day. So you work around both the sacredness of the land which hold memory, as you were talking about, the different goddess cultures that were all there. So have you found that ritual actually becomes stronger in certain environments?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you don't have to go too far to figure that out. That's why people have built temples. That's why people have built churches. That's why people tend to have built these places on ley lines and on hills or on mountains. That's why we have holy mountains and holy caves. Because some places have a significance where you cannot find anywhere else. And people feel that. And people will get together there. They will do magic there. They will worship there. And here where I am now in France, they have a very very strong cult around the Marys. Either the Virgin Mary and the Magdalene. And then it's kind of unexpected in a way, because you have the Catholic Church, which is a very patriarchal organization, but all the churches everywhere is kind of Notre Dame de some or other. Notre Dame de Paris, Notre Dame de Toulon, Notre Dame de this, Notre Dame de that is always about Notre Dame. And these things are conducive to where one is and where and what's going on, in a particular area. And so, you can also go back to even, the Greeks, Mount Olympus, Delphi, and the sacred places in Egypt, the sacred places in the old Levant, the sacred places that you find all over the world. There's very often mountains involved. There's very often springs of water involved. When you talk about a spring, a source, that's the root word for sorcery.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
So there's always a cave or some water or, a mountain, something that brings human beings, our little bodies that live very short times in the big kind of scope of things, and it gives us meaning, and it gives us something to aspire to so that we can live in joy and awe.
Yeah. No, especially for many of us, which are city dwellers, and we don't get out where the actually sky gets dark and things like that to see what's going on.
Sure.
I'm very elemental in my work. I'm very attached to the land below, and I do travel a lot. So,
And you're in LA, right?
I'm in LA.
Yeah, the
And
official name of LA is El Pueblo de la Dona de Los Angeles, which
Yeah.
literally, that's the official name. That's what it says on my wedding certificate. Married in El Pueblo de la Dona de Los Angeles, which literally is the town of the Lady of the Angels.
That's beautiful. That's
That's
where I am in Hollywood, where we have met, where we have many friends, all live right here. That
Yeah.
to me is its own little sacred place right in these hills. I have
They
literally found portals, energetic portals in these hills. And I honestly think that that's why Hollywood is where it is. It's brought in the creatives, the writers, the actors, the musicians. There is like 7 or 8 religious organizations right within a mile of here. Vedanta, Theosophy, self-realization, Catholic moderate. And again, it's brought these creative, spiritual, or artistic people around. That's why I think it's kind of a love-hate place for people like I can't stand the energy here, or those of us who are
Yeah.
drawn to it. So I do notice when I get to go, so like France or Ireland or any of these places that get to go, the magic there. So if you're doing a curated event that fits in with the place that you're doing and like-minded people, it's perfection.
Well, the thing is that I will kind of claim that kind of type of, particularly the energy around, a ceremonial magic, etc., which is what I do. It's older here, and I can't put my finger on why, but that is just a personal perception as well. I don't have to be right about that, because we never really have to be right about stuff, right? And but it feels older here. But that doesn't mean that it's better. It means that for somebody who is, who lives in LA where you are, it's fun to come to, the south of Europe, and it's new. It's a new experience, and the the church just up the street here is from the 8th century. I thought that was really special when I moved to this village, but turns out all the villages got one. And it's just a lot older. Mind you, there are places in Los Angeles, which is, the new world for us, and um, that has some real kind of spiritual significance. And it's like you say as well, LA has it, it's known for it, and
Yeah.
it has an innocence to it as well, which I find quite refreshing there. So one can find sacred places without going to ancient places. And, obviously, whether LA is ancient or not, it kind of depends on who you ask. But, it's, um, I leave that to you guys. And then, I'm from Northern Norway. I'm European. So I have a link with the whole the Western spirit ceremonial magic and the kind of, because that is our spirituality as European people, and not that that is necessarily preferred. That's the whole beauty of getting people together, because people from all over the world come to my retreats, and it's a lot of fun when you get to kind of compare cultures as well. So the one who's coming up now in June, which is sold out. I have a Tibetan teacher there, and a couple of people from Malay, and then a German woman, and so it's a chance to meet people. You know, you're not on holiday, but the food is great. Everything looks a bit different, and it kind of raises the whole energy of the experience.
And that one's going to be in Joshua Tree, California.
No, that's in June, coming up here now.
Oh,
But
that's
you know,
June
and
in
that's
France.
it's in France. That's been sold out for a while. That's an alchemy.
Yeah.
That I have an alchemist, Lee, who's coming from London, Lee Gerald Barlow, who's teaching, and what he's teaching is hermetic magnetism and
Ooh,
and
that's awesome.
this is the second one we do. The first one went really well, so we were like, let's do this again. It's a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
there are a lot of healing in those practices, and those practices are really old. So in a way, what we do is to take people back. This is not about being modern. This is about anchoring experiences that is intrinsically human, that has to do with getting together and exploring the art of magic. Because humans are the only species that kind of creates art. So we animals do everything else, but they don't create art and beauty for the sake of it. They don't do magic for the
Right.
sake of it. That is an intrinsically human trait, and it is a birthright.
I love that. I've never even thought about that before. Thank you for that. A whole new way of looking at it, because we do. Animals do everything else amazingly well. Yeah, but
Yeah, they,
I,
they, they do everything we do, but they don't create beauty for the sake of creating beauty. They do, you have all these birds that are building beautiful things, but that tends to be in the service of procreation. Humans create magic, art, and beauty for the sake of it, because we're driven to it, because it's a part. If you think about it, Sorry, I'm kind of digressing.
no, no, you're not. This is my show. Goes in circle. It goes here and there. You're perfect.
Okay, well, here in the south of France, there are also some of the deepest limestone caves that you will find in this part of the world, and they have been inhabited. Ancient man walked out of Africa, walked straight into the caves here, because when you see them, you understand why. Because you go like, oh yeah, that's really efficient shelter, and it's surrounded by mountains, so the nature is providing a natural fortress, so you have protection. There's a lot of game, there's food, there are plants, there's clean water coming out of the mountains. So you have everything. All your needs are met. You have shelter, you're not hungry. You have water, you've got your tribe around you, so you feel safe. The one thing, and then the moment those needs are met, people are starting to make art on the walls for no reason at all. So little Og is picking up a piece of dirt around his hand on the wall, and he goes like, look, that is cool. And somebody else picks up a piece of charcoal, and they go like, oh yeah, this is the animal we caught, and we just say, oh, it must be the soul of the animal. And then we have and then instantly we create belonging, we create meaning, and we create religion. And those things we can, they are here, those caves with all the petroglyphs in them. Joshua Tree has petroglyphs also. So humans create art immediately. It's what they do.
That
And
is
then
beautiful.
they create magic around the art, because the
Wow.
art is alive, and they create meaning around the art. So so to take those traits and just run with it in our modern world, and remember what the ancients used to do, and do the same things that they used to do, roughly, within ritual, or within hermeticism, or within magic, or within alchemy. that is refreshing for the soul. It's a homecoming.
Very much so, because in our modern Western, complete logical left brain focused world that we have to live in, we've lost so much. I
No,
well, I mean, we could have. I mean, in the day to day, we need that. We need that ability to do art and things. I mean, I just work my local elementary school here in Hollywood had horrible grades until we brought art classes in, and then they had good grades for their reading
sure.
and writing and arithmetic. But it's been so our focus has all been on logic, so we need that art, magic, ritual, spirituality. So,
I don't agree that that's taken away from people in the
well, no,
West. I mean,
it's not focused on it. No, I don't mean. Yeah, I didn't mean it's taken away. I mean, it's not highlighted, like, that's part of
Mhm.
it. They literally took every art and math thing out of the local elementary school,
Yeah.
grades went down. We brought it back and grades went up, period. Did not change the math and English teachers. It's just
No,
not focused or given the importance I think it should be.
no, right. And, this is our brains grow and develop. And, when this is such an important thing of the human condition, um, of course, it's good uh, to learn these things and emphasize these things. And I'm lucky because I'm ancient, so we had a lot of these things. We were allowed to be very creative. But when you're talking about the Western world as inferior, in any spiritual form, I do not agree with that at all. Because what I do and what I teach and what I practice is Western esotericism. And you also have stuff like the tarot, which we both are very familiar with, which did not come from Egypt. It didn't. It's a Renaissance, early Renaissance thing from Northern Italy, where it was a card game called Tarocchio that people would play for fun, right? Um, People who had time to play card games, also
They did.
before the printing press, when they actually had to draw all these cards individually. So these were status symbols, and it was for the rich. Um, and that then, several hundred years later, evolves into a divinatory system. And think about what that means to divine, which it is what you do when you have when you do divination, take out the divine in yourself. And that can be done with absolutely everything. But the tarot is fun because, it literally is a Renaissance picture book, and it's beautiful. So again, we have chosen here to divine with art, because that's what the tarot is. And this comes from a time also where people, even very wealthy people, very often couldn't read or write. They had scribes for that. So, it's a picture tool.
I
Yeah.
So
So
you're a very magical, spiritual path. You just said you grew up in Norway. Did that? Were you born into this? Did like living in the land of like darkness so often, where you had the midnight sun? Did that lead you into your deeper magical spiritual belief, or where did that come from?
I think people who are close to nature, and I always felt close to nature, have a kind of bent that way. And also, I'm from Northern Norway, really far north. It's like 1,000 kilometers roughly. I know, not that Americans get kilometers, but hey, we're talking to the whole world. North of the Arctic Circle. So
Yes.
people always focus on the darkness there. Of course, we have the polar night, which is, when the sun doesn't rise above the horizon for a very long time,
Yeah.
no- and 1.5 to 2.5 months, depending on where in the country you are. But that's offset by the summer, where the sun does not set. So it's more that you have a very long day, and then you have a very short day. So,
Yeah.
so, or you just have not. So it's kind of an extreme environment in that sense. And also it's packed with mountains and ocean and weather, and um quite extreme, right? And I hate to say it, but whenever I go somewhere completely flat, I think you know I was just trying to mind my words. I think extreme places creates extreme people. And I think the environment we grow up in, or the environment we know when we are small, um, will have an effect on us later, whether we want to admit it or not. Yeah. So I often find when I travel that you find quite unusual people in places with extreme nature, with extreme weather, with extreme light conditions, etc. You know, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Northern Norway, but you know, where I am here now, I love mountains. I don't give a crap about the ocean. You know, I can't even swim. I have no interest in it. You know, but put me in a mountain, and I'm happy, right? I'm a Capricorn. I'm a mountain goat. I like you know, I like deserts. I like and mountain. So but that's I've always had an interest in these things, and you know, when I was tidying up my mum's house after she passed, I found an old diary where I was 8, and I had analyzed the tarot card a day.
Really?
I'd totally forgotten about that, but you know, I've always kind of done it, and Um, you know, then obviously I grow up and got a job, and I got a career, all of that stuff, and decided to kind of segue into this because it's a very short leap from doing events, which I used to do, that I had to do with kind of like culture, art, film, and music, to do events uh, where you bring people together to learn and practice magic. Yeah. And it's a purpose in that.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful.
I've always been fascinated by the whole kind of Western esotericism path. And, you know, I joined Freemasonry as well, Memphis Mizraim, which is, you know, they do mixed lodges, which I like. So it's
In
kind of men
France,
and
right?
women.
Just in France is the only place I know you can have.
No, this
Friends.
was London. I lived in London for
Oh,
20
oh, what?
years. Yeah. But France does it too, you know. So the thing is with that particular lodge, you actually have to read, you have to learn things, and you know all of that. So that's an kind of interesting thing, you know. And there are loads of people who are connected with all of these things that you know you won't find them on the internet. So they haven't written the thickest books because they are busy traveling around, really kind of face to face doing initiatory work with people, right? So it's not necessarily about um profile sometimes. Good magicians are found in the weirdest places, and they very often does not sit in armchairs telling what other people what to think because they've read more books than you. They're out there and they're practicing magic, and they're not scared of doing that together.
Right. Now, if somebody's like going, "Oh, this sounds so interesting. This sounds great. I would love to be like-minded people or learning," but but maybe they're sitting there and like, "I don't know much about this, and I'm not an artist. I don't know much about ritual." Is this for everybody, or is this for
Yeah.
advanced people, or just
No, I
you
mean,
guide them?
listen, we're all, every human is born advanced. There is no, there's very little limit what we can do. It's like what Londuquette says, you know, it's kind of, it's all, oh, magic is all in your head. If you only knew how big your head is, you know. I don't want to become a cliche now, but it's totally true. You know, it's like, there's so many things that we can do with our minds. And I'm not kind of ruling out the whole body and the heart, no, 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 but the brain is an incredible thing. And, you know, we're all connected to it as well. You know, we are all one organism on this earth. We are with, you know, everything else that lives and breathes and, you know, somehow has a pulse, or maybe even not. But for as long as we're all connected, for as long as we all have this wonderful apparatus that's called a brain and an individual brain, um, there is nothing as being too not advanced enough. So everything is always geared towards people who may never have, you know, done this before, apart from maybe picked up a book or two, or gone online and felt this calling in themselves, when you know that being an individual human being has a meaning and you're part of that, or something that's divine. And I'm not necessarily talking about, you know, the Christian God. I'm talking about the divine.
Yeah.
That we all are an integral part of. And for everyone who feels that calling, they can come and learn. And they're not, if sometimes having read too much can be a problem. No, I've read that. No, no, that's what you said. That's not what I said in that book. It's just like be together and see what happens. And
Right.
ritual is like art. It's organic.
Right.
There is.
An
I love that cat.
experience.
I love
I know.
kitty.
Sorry. That's my kitty. Yes. She
Yeah,
had a
and
microphone.
everything that has to do with art and magic is art. I hope we agree about that. There is no right or wrong, is it?
No, I agree wholeheartedly. I just want in case anybody was worrying about that. So tell
No.
us a little bit about the one you do have space available still in your Halloween event. Tell us about that.
Yeah,
That's
the
Joshua Tree, right? That one is
that's booking now, and that we have space for that, and that I'm excited about that one because um there are 3 teachers and me, so it's full, Uh, so it's kind of like buy one get 4 free, and people. It happens at the Joshua Tree Retreat Center, which is a place that in itself um, is it's packed with vortexes and fun stuff,
mm,
and it also has an like art sculpture garden. The architecture is Lloyd Wright, all of it, and it's an American national monument because it's the place in the world where you find the most Lloyd Wright architecture in one place. And so it's very, 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 very well suited for this. It's its other name is the Institute of Mental Physics, whatever that means. Uh, but the teachers I think you've had a couple of them as guests on your show. It's like Scarlet Amaris, who is
dear friend. Yeah.
yeah, and the practicing. I wouldn't know if she would call herself a witch, but she's definitely practicing the craft and very, very well versed in mythology. Very versed in the archetypes of the gods and the goddesses and how we can link up to them to literally kind of feel the importance of who we really are as divine human beings. So she will do some really interesting stuff. And the other one is Ashley Ryan, or Pythian priestess, that she
Dear
goes
friend.
by. Yeah, and I know she's been on your show, and she will do stuff that's directly linked to um, ceremonial magic ritual, but in her case, centered around the moon and around Venus. No, sorry, the moon and Isis, Isis, Venus, Venus, Isis, potato, potato. Um, and this is stuff that she has just recently been called to because she spent some time in Egypt, so she's back now and sharing that with us. And and then the third teacher is Naha Ahmadi, who is a very long-term um, ceremonial magician based in Los Angeles. She
Mm.
has mystery school called 22 Teachings, which people can find. They can find both Naha Ahmadi and 22 Teachings on Instagram, on Facebook, which is quite a few people are still on if they're kind of over 40.
They're still there. Yeah.
Yeah, or just Google it, or ask whatever. Just don't ask AI. They tend to hallucinate over all these stuff, and they never get these things wrong because it's too complicated. And so it's the 3 of us, and we will also be doing ritual together on Halloween, so that people have an opportunity to kind of offload all the crap they don't need in their life anymore, coming from 3 different lineages or 4 lineages. And so, in order to be able to learn together, do this together, and then um, travel back home, feeling inspired and initiated, because this is also a full-on initiation that we are going to do. So, anyway, we have space there for this thing, and we will do some really advanced magic together, but it's led by people who have done this for a long time, who's very good at it. So it doesn't mean that people have to arrive and feel that, oh, I'm an advanced magician. No, 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 just come and be, and come and see, and come and do.
Mm,
Be
I love
the
that.
And the goal is that people then go back to their lives, whatever they do. Everybody do different things. Sometimes life is, how do I put it, frustrating. Yeah. So that we can deal with our frustrations in a more in a more kind of, own our lives more. So that's why also we call this retreat the sovereign crown, because what we are learning is to be sovereign in our own lives, that we don't need kings and queens and rulers. We are the sovereign in our own lives. And when we get in touch with our own source to magic, which is in us all, there is no doubt about that anymore. So you're in touch with your own magical power. And that will change people's lives, because that creates a completely different level of confidence in the world, and also a willingness maybe to experiment a little with the world.
I love that. So before we go, I'm sure my listeners and my watchers are going, oh my gosh, I want to go to this. I want to know more about you. Where can people find out more about you, more about your retreats that are coming up, anything that you have coming up? So let us know. We're going to send them there.
Okay. Well, it's more about me. Well, people don't necessarily need to know. I'm not important here. What is important is bringing people together so that they can do ritual together, get in touch with their own magical power, and be strong and sovereign in their own lives. To find out how to do that, or there are many ways. But if somebody wants to come and do this with me and with us, they can go online on magical-retreats.com and scroll and see what's happening. Also, if people are particularly interested in this thing and want to kind of be there first, because I'm doing another retreat in France next year in June, and we haven't even announced it, but we've already half sold it. So if people want to know first what's happening, get in touch. And there are many ways of doing that. The best way to do that is to go on the website, and if people trust us with their email, we never give them to anybody else. Then we will also be in the power of letting anybody who wants to know stuff first, know stuff first. But it's not for everyone, but it's for a lot of people. And right now, and particularly in the United States, it is a little bit different here in Europe, though. I notice that every time I get here, but particularly in the United States now, people feel really divided and scared. And this is the way to unite and get together, and so that we don't have to be so scared and divided, because this fear is not really that real. If you really want to think about it, look at what you and I are doing. We're talking to people out there. Never been that easy to do before.
No.
Never ever have so many people had enough to eat in the world. Never ever have so many people had access to education, particularly women and girls. Never ever have so many people had a roof over their heads. Never ever, which is strange but true, look it up, has there been fewer wars. So it's never been a better place or a better time to be alive. And the best way to celebrate that fact is to let go of this unreal fear, that the 24-hour news cycle is putting on us. Forget about that. Focus on what is our real birthright, which is art, beauty, magic, and let's get together and do it. There's real power in that, and it's real rebellion in that. The greatest rebellion that anyone can do right now is to refuse to live in fear, to get together and do something that belongs to the human birthright and the human condition.
I agree. So thank you so much. You guys, check out her website. Are you on social media as well, or should they just get to your website? Oh, you
It's best to, magical retreats is on Instagram, but to be completely honest, I don't like Instagram or social media. I can't stand it. But I'm there because I have to. But if people want to have not just a quick overview without having to commit to going on a website, and also to see what we've done before, right? Then to go on magical retreats at magical retreats, one word, on Instagram. Um, it's possible to scroll down that profile and figure out what we've done before, which I can understand can be interesting for people. It has to do with trust. Also on the website, there's a whole page of testimonials, and so then looking at that, then people can see what kind of retreats that we have done before, and what magicians and practitioners have been the speakers at previous retreats, and what magicians are speakers on future retreats. Because those speakers are vetted, those speakers are handpicked, those speakers have a following, they've written books, they very often, or they have a position, and an experience in teaching this stuff.
right. Right. No, you guys be even brave. Go all the way to the website. Again, all the hard stuff is the good stuff. Crank it up. Go all the way to the yes, look at things in past. Anyway, Tonelise, it is such an honor to have you on this show. I highly recommend this. Again, I am waiting for I want to go on one of these retreats too, and I'm going to because I agree with
let's make
everything you said.
let's
So
happen. I'm a big fan of what you do, by the way.
thank you.
Because in your own way, you also manage to connect people with what is eternal,
Yeah.
and that takes away our little day-to-day fears, and and makes us to remember to live in joy and to live in awe.
Yes.
And
Thank
that's
you.
what you do, and that's important. So I just wanted to say that as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. No, I know, and I'm getting to an audience that may not get another way or to another thing. So thank you. I appreciate that. So before we go, any last words of wisdom or anything you want anybody to know before they go to your website and follow?
Sure, but there is just one thing I want to say, and I just want to repeat one thing, and it's kind of magic is your birthright. Magic is art. Never forget that, and do not be afraid.
Words of wisdom. Thank you, Tana. Thank you for bringing that magic to the witching hour.